Hi, my name is Tanya and welcome to my small backyard vegetable garden here in central Victoria. A couple of videos back I was talking about reducing the amount of plastic in my vegetable garden, and that included reusing terracotta pots and the coir pots and anything else that was of a natural material. So I am wanting to redo seed snails again this autumn, and I was thinking about how I would go about not using the bubble wrap, which is going to be hard to match because the bubble wrap worked really well. Mine had become a bit damaged over the time that I had been using it, so I was being mindful about shedding plastic. So I went looking for something else that I could use, something quite hardy, and I have this leftover hessian that I had been using to shade the cucumbers during our heat waves. This big piece had some holes worn in it from when we had the really heavy, windy, hot days, and I thought I would just give it a try and make some out of hessian. Now I am using double layers. I have made two previously and I sowed some seeds in them, and I'm really happy with how they have worked out. The seeds were up within a couple of days. These are the snowball cauliflowers, the little mini cauliflowers. And these are the purple Sicily cauliflowers. And I am loving the look of these. So I just threw these together as a trial, and now I am cutting out some more pieces. I had one piece left that I am using as a pattern piece, and I want to get that copied so that I will have a pattern that I can quick and easily make more. I used the hessian and I folded it over, and then I lined it with a Coles bag. As you can see, I've just opened it up and I'm cutting it to around about the size. Now, what I did think about the two that I had previously made is that they are quite solid and dense. I do have coir in the seed raising mix, but then I thought this next one, I am going to add some perlite to it, just to see if it makes a difference, because the bubble wrap had the bubbles on the inside, which allowed the soil not to compact. So that was my only concern with the first two that I had made. Even though the seeds have germinated so quickly and easily, within days, I sowed them and made sure they were very damp, and I had the seed snails sitting here on the edge of the table so they got some really warm sun on them and they heated up, and I think that was why they germinated so quickly. Now I'm thinking that this hessian is not going to rot away in one time that I use it for sowing seeds, so I'm hoping that it's going to be okay to use again. I don't know with the Coles shopping bag how well it will unroll. It's all a bit of a trial, and I'm pretty excited with how it's turned out. It will be interesting to unroll it when the seeds, because they're so thickly sown, when I have seedlings that need more soil over the top or need separating and maybe adding to more rolls. It is the perfect way that I found last time I did this to sow lots of seeds with a limited amount of space. we'll come back to that later on, but I have been out and found a few thrifty finds that are going to be used here in the garden, and I'm always happy to be finding something at the op shop. And I can never go past a basket, beautiful basket like this for $5. I never pass up. It's not too deep, and so it is perfect for picking produce. This little jug is absolutely gorgeous. It's made by Redburn Pottery in Shepparton, and it has the most beautiful colors on it. I was so excited to find another wine cooler. I felt like I had won the lottery, $4, so I am very keen to get this filled with water to see if it weeps. I am so happy with the wine cooler that I have in my big tomato tub, and also the terracotta vase that I have in the coir. It works perfectly at keeping my seedlings in the terracotta pots nice and damp. Even the seedlings in the plastic pots, the roots come out the bottom, absorb the moisture out of the coir, and I just fill that little vase. I also found this one. I had never seen anything like this, and I found it quite intriguing. I really didn't look too much into it. It was $8. I had never seen these before, and when I was talking to my daughter about it, she had actually seen someone on YouTube growing the carnivorous plants on these. They love moisture, and I think they were wrapped in moss and then wired on. If she doesn't want to use it for carnivorous plants, then it will be used in a pot the same way as the wine cooler. This dish I got for a sink strainer for washing produce and then drip drying it. And then I found this old broiler, comes out of an old oven, and I thought that would be perfect for doing exactly the same as the big round lid there. And so to test these terracotta things, I'm going to fill it with some coir and fill with water to see if that terracotta weeps. But I did think this dish would be perfect for putting seedlings in around one of these, and then I don't really have to worry about watering seedlings. They just soak in the moisture themselves. These are my Brussels sprout seedlings. It is just so typical. I had a whole tray that came through so easily, and now I sow green Brussels sprouts and I get 4. These are the red Brussels sprouts, the second sowing I had put in. And these are some purple Sicily cauliflower. Now these were sown one day before these seed snails. So the rate of germination for the seed snails, that looks pretty good. the first sowing of the Brussels sprouts. These are the red ones that I got in nice and early. I potted on to these terracotta pots, and like I was saying, I think they might be good in there. I just have to make sure I have a cover. And I also got this little, I think it's a water fountain, and it was $15, but it is very old, from I think 1916, and the wooden tap was sitting very loose in it, and I didn't think I'd be able to use it, but I brought it home and filled it with water, and the timber swelled and made that connection quite tight, so I'm very, very happy with it, and it is watertight. Now, why I got that is my daughter invested in all these houseplant things from Plant Runner. This is their indoor plant food, their liquid fertilizer. And instead of her making up watering cans full of it, we're going to use this little water fountain as similar to my copper up the top with the vegetable garden. So she can mix up a brew in here to the right measurements, and then use this little jug to water her indoor plants. Lots of cuttings on the go, and she's repotting things. That one there needs repotting, but she is having a great time, and it will be interesting just to see how good these things from Plant Runner work out with all her indoor plants. Got such a collection here. A lot of them she has managed to pick up from Bunnings. They have been markdowns. This one is the pretty turtle, and it is coming up to flower. Got a string of hearts. The different leaves are just so beautiful. Checking back in on these terracotta things, and yes, they are weeping moisture. Now I'm going to make one of these seed snails up. This is some perlite. I'm just mixed it in to some seed raising mix, and it also has some coir in it. This is to keep aeration up in the soil so they don't become too compact. Adding some water, just so it's easier to use when placing it out on the paper and hessian. This tray is the most perfect find for this. Keeps everything nice and square, and it makes life very easy to keep the soil in place. I'm making these a reasonable thickness because I am sowing brassicas into them. Will be interesting just to see if the perlite makes any difference. They feel very nice and firm to roll, and I'm just using these stainless steel pegs, which I think are the best invention ever. I use them a lot. And that was Hunter bumping the tripod. He's sleeping underneath it. So I'm just tying it with some of this black plant tie that I picked up at Bunnings, and it's got a bit of stretch in it, which means I can pull it in nice and tight. I did try to use the painter's tape, but it doesn't stick to the hessian, so I had to come up with something else. The pegs hold it in place while rolling and tying. I made the fold of hessian at the top so no seeds get lost down in between there, but I'm just making sure that no soil gets between the paper bag and the hessian, and that way all the seeds will be going into the soil and not down in between the layers. These are the red Brussels sprouts again. I will be the luckiest person ever if I get a heap more of these coming up. I'm sowing these thickly. It is something that I am really trying hard to grow well, and I think it is about getting them in and they have enough time to grow before winter. So I've put the seeds down, tapped them down so they've got connection with the soil, and then covered with some coir. I wrote the date on the seed packet and I've gave it a water in. It's been a while since I've done an aerial shot. Last summer I always did some footage from a tall ladder, and we had that out while we were cleaning the gutters. But as expected, with the last lot of rain, powdery mildew is here. I thought I might use a mix of milk and water. I've heard that that can work. And that was lightning. This is normally the end of our season, so I don't normally worry about this, but I so want to have some rock melons. And everything is looking very nice down here. There has been no break-ins, and I have been making sure I put something out every second day for Mrs. Possum, so she really has no reason to break into the capsicums. So there's some small fruit there. And of course there's the eggplants I need to pick. And there's some fruit there that is growing also. Well done, Mrs. Possum. You ready to go inside? You ready to go inside? You ready to go inside?